classified in several ways. A classification is mainly based on its characteristics and functions, which means the classification of knowledge is mainly on its nature and the type of knowledge. For academic purposes, we can classify knowledge into following broad groups. There are particularly 4 broad groups: first group, second group, third group, and fourth group. And in first group, there are 5 types of knowledge. And first one is objective knowledge. Objective knowledge is limited to scientific expression, which means we cannot add additional knowledge according to our understanding, but it is limited to verifiable facts and empirical evidences. Personal influences or perspectives does not influence objective knowledge as it is universally true, which means it is derived from scientific source. For example, scientific laws, mathematical expressions and formulas. This can also be called as rational or scientific knowledge. For example, the size of Indian Ocean is 70.56 million kilometers. This is fixed in nature and hence a part of objective knowledge. Secondly, subjective knowledge. In subjective knowledge, this is opposite of objective knowledge. Here we can assimilate data to our understanding of facts and generate knowledge according to our capacity of understanding concepts or things. Here the knowledge is formed suiting to our perception. It is biased in nature, as the knowledge is formed as per the influence of our choice, despite of scientific expression, as we saw in objective knowledge. And subjective knowledge for the same data can be different for different individuals. For example, people tend to adapt environment-friendly things because they learn it from their schools and functionality of good society. By this example, we can see that subjective knowledge is more philosophical in nature rather than scientific or rational aspect. Now, contextual knowledge. The knowledge which is based on reference to context, just like who said the particular thing and to whom, just like in the English literature lessons we read in our book and recall in what context the events took place. In contextual knowledge, the facts or data get stored in our brain in relation to some particular situation, and later the knowledge is recollected when the particular reference is made. For example, let someone ask a question to someone who attended a party. For example, what kind of dress she wore on the party. After recalling the events of the party, the person will immediately answer that she wore a shiny dress at the party with shiny or fancy buttons on it. Now, diverse knowledge. It is the total sum of knowledge that comprises different and diverse aspects of our life or of a particular field. For example, if a person has knowledge of personal, domestic, social, political, and economic fields of life, and he can also know about sports and diverse knowledge about cricket, football, hockey, badminton, and other games, such a person is a dynamic personality. Examples of dynamic personality. It is said that Sri Krishna has excelled over 63 types of fine arts, thus he was a dynamic personality. Different types of knowledge simultaneously unites in a person's head, thus making him a diverse personality, or he has a diverse type of knowledge. Now, dialogical knowledge. This type of knowledge has wider sense and is extreme in nature and is closer to subjective knowledge in terms. When a person comes to know a fact, he thinks over it deeply and densely and thus forming a conclusion about it, which is rigid in nature, which means no one can change it, because while forming an opinion, a person goes through all the options and after considering all options, sticks to a suitable opinion according to him. This knowledge is close in sense to priori knowledge. Now let's discuss the second group. The second group, as per the writer, involves two types of knowledge. First one is a priori knowledge and second is a posteriori knowledge. So first of all, let's discuss a priori knowledge. So first of all, what does the word priori means? Priori means previously installed knowledge, the knowledge which has been previously installed by someone to us, which we have discussed in the last video as well. It is a stereotypical in nature, just like belief. In a priori knowledge, the facts or principles are taken as true in order to decide what probable effects or result of something be. For example, if an individual has not eaten for long, it would be inferred as he must be hungry, whether he is hungry or not in real. If someone sees a young boy in school uniform having a sad face, a person can infer it that he must have been scolded by the teacher or harassed by his classmates. Thus, this type of knowledge is not very sound in nature, but it was the prominent type until the scientific means of discovery of knowledge came to be established. Just like in earlier times, the shaking of earth or earthquake was stereotypically believed to the wrath of God. But as researchers increased and the developments in science happened, it came to fore that it is caused due to breaking and rapid movement of underground rocks along a fault line. Now, what is a posteriori knowledge? So this type of knowledge is in contrast to priori knowledge, which involves analyzing of some facts or data, starting from the known facts and then assume about possible case of something. For example, if someone has eaten food, you can say that he must not be hungry. If you see a boy in school uniform along with bag hung on its back during morning time, you can say that he must be going to school. And if you see the fire around the place, you can say that its surrounding must be hot. So we can say that this type of knowledge is completely opposite to priori knowledge, which is based on reason rather than stereotypically belief. It is closed in nature. And a posteriori knowledge is similar to scientific method, as inferences or conclusions are drawn from the actual facts or data. Now the third group of knowledge. Under this group, we can classify knowledge into existing and generic knowledge. So first of all, existing knowledge. First of all, what does the word exist means? The word exist means which is present in the present or real time. Existing knowledge is used to develop a solution to a specific problem. This knowledge is developed with the help of experts or with the help of expertise of a project team, academics as well as non-academics, or from the results of earlier projects. It is the part of body of scientific knowledge. In order to be considered as research, new knowledge has to be generated by the project team in order to solve the problem. If the problem can be solved with the already existing knowledge, it would not be normally considered as research project but a development project. Professional practice or consultancy available knowledge as well as newly generated content specific knowledge is applied in order to solve a specific problem. Now, generic knowledge. So generic knowledge is a knowledge that is generally applicable to answer similar kind of problems. As science is interested in the nature and behavior of observable phenomena, it seeks knowledge that has relevance and validity beyond a specific context. Through reflective processes, single researchers and research teams can use the specific knowledge and developed in project for further development of existing methods and theory. The researcher will draw a conclusion of general relevance and in this sense develop generic knowledge. This generic knowledge is fed back to science usually in the form of scientific paper or book publication and is the main process through which process in science takes place. In this way, knowledge is also shared with the scientific community and available for future projects. Generic knowledge increases the body of knowledge in scientific communities and the knowledge applicable to societal problems. So now let's discuss the fourth group. In this group, we proceed from general knowledge to a specific knowledge. So first of all, tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge is also a type of subjective knowledge because the personal opinions are present in it. Tacit knowledge is implicit in nature, which means we cannot describe it completely and clearly as it is based on perception of different individuals. And their thinking could vary and have different dynamics of processing thoughts. For example, intuition. It is an ability which is presented in a person since its birth or God-gifted ability to understand situation and circumstances without using logic. For example, during Vedic period, the great sages of India had a phenomenal intuition capability, which made them bring forth the knowledge of Ayurveda, yoga and meditation, the concept of zero, astronomy, concept of soul, concept of loving nature and its phenomenon, principles of sound and music. So the principles of sound and music align with the modern understanding of acoustics and the psychological effects of music on brain and emotions, and sustainable agriculture and chakras and energy systems. So this means that tacit knowledge is not directly accessible to others and it is impossible to access its significance in relation to existing knowledge. Now let's discuss explicit knowledge. In order to become a researcher or scientific in nature, knowledge has to be transferred from tacit to explicit or from subjective to objective, or in simple words, we can say that from the knowledge as per our understanding to scientific expression, or to be limited to raw facts or data so that a mass number of people can draw a logical and rational conclusion from it rather than spoiled conclusion which is a result of the influence of stereotypical or biased opinions. Thus explicit knowledge is fixed in nature on some medium such as book or science journal or website. In such way it is brought out in general context of public domain. Now let's discuss the difference between tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge. First of all, it is the tacit knowledge. It is implicit in nature, which means it can't be described clearly. Implicit knowledge is based on personal opinions, and as we have discussed, intuition is type of a tacit knowledge which is based on personal perception or God-gifted nature. Thus, it can't be revealed clearly. And explicit knowledge is expressed in language. It is expressible in nature. Secondly, the tacit knowledge is personally bound, which means it depends on person to person, and it has content of privacy, whereas explicit knowledge is not bound to a particular individual or group as it is presented in scientific data or raw facts or information. Third point of tacit knowledge, it is not accessible to others unless an individual choose to reveal it. So since we have discussed that the tacit knowledge is personally bound and it is not revealed to mass until and unless an individual choose to reveal it. And the third point of explicit knowledge is it is accessible to others as it is available in public domain on a medium like book, CD, journal, or website, etc. As explicit knowledge is generated with the help of several researchers and research team or special or expertise or the team of expertise which discuss on a particular matter, and being scientific in nature, it is produced in for mass to know about it and to generate conclusions. Fourth point of tacit knowledge, it is not in the context of other forms of knowledge. And the fourth point of explicit knowledge, it is seen in the context of other forms of existing knowledge. Which means the explicit knowledge has relation with the existing knowledge or the real world knowledge which is presented in websites, books, CDs, etc. As it is formed on data and evidences, whereas in tacit knowledge it is not in the context of other forms of knowledge as it is stereotypically or biased in nature.